of what music really is.
Yes.
You can talk about some of his experiences,
That's
how
right.
you knew him, or how
Yes.
people knew him, and what they said about him, and
That's
et cetera, going to England, and
That's
all of that kind of information. Got 10 minutes to
Okay.
talk to him about.
Okay.
This is going to be the highlight. I'm going to make this the biggest part of the discussion itself.
Yes.
This 10 minutes. You've given me some excellent information up until now.
Thank you.
I want you to know that. Yes, sir. God is good. Man.
Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Sure He is.
He is. He has kept us all this time. That means you sitting up. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Minister Gregory Taylor, and he's giving us some information dealing with the stages of the African-American musical experience from the continent of Africa throughout the world. And I think, Minister Taylor, we can pick up during this last 10 minutes and give you an opportunity to talk about one of the individuals that can bring in a large number of other names and et cetera that played such an important part in the musical experience. And this is Dr. Bradley. Talk about Dr. Bradley.
I grew up with Dr. Bradley singing in Alabama. One of my friends who considered herself to be the #1 fan said he's an unknown superstar. Sang all over the world, sang in China, Paris, France, and we're getting his CD back into those different countries. His name is in granite on the quarter 3 stars, just about 100 feet away from the Civilian Conservation Corps marble plaque. And what we are doing here, Dr. Haney, we are bringing together the music of Sir J. Robert Bradley to fulfill the wishes of the CCC camp men. And on that stone down there, it said that few men have the opportunity to touch as many thousands as those men did over the years. And also that they say at the end, if they see fit to remember us in song, they will consider that their ward. And I have to mention this gentleman too. His name is Charlie Fletcher in Cleveland, Tennessee. He was a CCC campman since about 96 years old. That's about the age my father would have been. But in reference to Sir J. Robert Bradley, it's all connected. And I have had the opportunity to meet architect Kim Hinton of the Bicentennial Mall. And the meeting was so important, Dr. Haney, that I went to visit his church to see what kind of music they were listening to. And that idea came from me reading about where when Sir Winston Churchill met Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he had them to play Onward Christian Soldiers because that was during war. And see, I am a child of World War II. My father was there, you know. And so all of these things were coming together, and the purpose of it is to help protect the country because I have inherited what it means to be safe and sound. And if I can't be safe, I can't be, you know. And but Dr. Bradley, music was used from the East Coast to the West Coast in order to diffuse tension. And his website, I don't know if I could give that out.
Yeah, go give that.
The website is jrobertbradley.com. And his music, the book, we are working on he's due out on a postage stamp any day now. And we are just hoping that this will help create safe communities, create an atmosphere, because our people, I don't think it's racism, I don't think it's bullying. I think it's an emotion from the 60s that have turned into a virus, that this music used to debrief us from that, or help us to shed those emotions of that era. And these are areas where we got to go, and music is the key for doing that. And Dr. Bradley sang for the Queen of England in 1955. It's in his book. I've always been, we were on your show, Dr. Amos Jones and I, talking about his book, and he sang for the Queen of England. And I have received 4 letters from the Queen of England in regards to Dr. Bradley's music, you know. And so it is just absolutely incredible for someone to invest in his music back then And I, not to overthrow the government or anything, but I listen to God Save the Queen. And the reason for it, it keeps my memory of all the hymns that we sang here in America fresh. And see, a lot of the music is stale today, you know. And this is the way to keep it fresh, is to listen to those different songs. And when I visited Kim Hinton's church, I think it's the Hillsborough United Methodist Church, and I went in there, Dr. Haynes, and they were singing, I want Jesus to walk with me. And I said, they are singing more I am than we are, you know? And so it's these type of things that's happening with the music now, and we have got to get back to this to save the country.
You know, one thing about Dr. Bradley, his beginning.
Yes.
Talk about that,
yes,
because I think
that's right.
That's he, Booker T. Washington,
right.
several, many others during that period were able to rise to great fame.
That's
but
right.
Talk about his beginning.
Dr. Bradley grew up very poor. For a long time, he didn't have shoes. And there's a story in this book about where they were hungry and they didn't have any food. And he told his mother to forget God or something, and his mother got on him because she had trained him to sing in prenatal. And my mother marked me by the church and the prophet Samuel. But also, Dr. Haney, where I can relate to him, my mother was hungry and pregnant with me. And sometimes I can complain like a hungry, pregnant black woman. But in the reason, it's all there. But the music does so much to help today, the atmosphere. And there needs to be more of Dr. Bradley's music on the radio. If Southern Baptists and National Baptists would sponsor Dr. Bradley's music on the air, I guarantee you it'll do a lot to diffuse the tension. And he wrote someone in England and let them know that he sang at the University of Alabama during the time of the problems between the African Americans and the Caucasians. You know, I was just in the 3rd grade then. But I remember all of those times and things that were going on there. He sang at Stillman College, sang at the University of Alabama, and then there's a gentleman here in Nashville by the name of Charlie Parker. He heard him at Sanford University, and there's a testimony he sent me in order to share with others, and how Dr. Bradley talked about that if you love, say you love everybody, you know, and you don't love me, that these things like that, the music broke out, you know. And but he has an incredible story. And I told him to, when I came to Nashville in 1978, I visited him in his home. And I told him, I said, I was afraid of you, Dr. Bradley, because you would make the people sing in the choir, and I couldn't. So I didn't go, but I did go to church to listen to him, and he said, oh, that's all right. You know?
So you had an opportunity to meet him face to face and go inside his home?
Yes, he was living in the Capitol Towers, and this is what he shared with me there. He said, never insult a person in speech. And he also said to me how kind the Queen of England was to him while he was there.
That's an extraordinary statement, and really for him to be called to England by the Queen, and she having a desire to hear him, and of course she and her court, I'm sure, that's an extraordinary accomplishment for a person who came. Now he was from Memphis, was he?
Memphis, Tennessee, dirt poor, and also Dr., let me not forget, Dr. I think Melvin Townsend at Sun School Publishing Board. He was responsible for sending him to England to the Trinity School of Music to be educated, and his purpose was to come back to America in order to teach his people how to sing the old songs. And this is what we are trying to continue doing today. And I remember he had several opportunities. The man who was over one of the big radio stations or radio makers on would have taken care of him if he had stayed in England for the rest of his life. But he would let them know he had to go back because of how he was sent there. You know, and by us having kept the music pure, we were not allowed to leave the church and rewrite the songs to go into the streets to sing them. And therefore, that means my memory of his music is pure. And I grew up on a multicultural street. There were Koreans, Choctaw Indians, African Americans. My sisters were going to Africa, Stillman, and I met Africans then. So my whole life has been multicultural. And here recently, I mentioned to you, I discovered that just at 23, September 23rd, that my brother was Caucasian, you know, and that has caused me to realize, you know, that humorously speaking, Dr. Haney, I can be half Oreo, half apple, and have 8 colors, Crayola colors in me, because my father roots are from San
Well, that was a common situation in a real sense throughout these periods. And
but when you discover it and you know actually what it is, it
so
helps you to better yourself and well as others, you know.
It gives you a better understanding of everything in a real sense, and that life is really great. But its life is real.
That's right.
And so I think
that's right. It's
true. But during this last minute, Minister
please.
Taylor, let me thank you for bringing back what we consider to be some excellent information dealing with the African American musical experience. And I think one of the most important things that I got out of what we were talking about here today is the ability of the certain kind of music to have a great psychological impact upon people, whether it's through singing or through choirs or whatever, and that music is very, very important. And I want to thank you in a real sense for bringing that information by, and I want to encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.